Hey everyone, before we get to today's video, I just want to tell you a little story about something that happened with me recently. There is a gentleman that lives in Texas, and for about 25 years now, he's been like a father figure to me and my greatest mentor. And he has, it seemingly has a new talent every time I'm with him. So I'm visiting him in Texas a few weeks ago. And we're out at this restaurant, and they happen to have a grand piano there. And so he decides he's just going to sit down and play something. And so, of course, I'm thinking, you know, Chopsticks is on the way or something. Next thing I know, he's playing Mozart. And I was really astounded because he just seems to reveal a new talent every time I'm around him. And then he goes into how he loves to play piano because of the use of both of his hands. It feels like it keeps him sharp because he's close to 70 now. And so, you know, that's an issue as you get older. It's why a lot of people do crossword puzzles and things like that. And so I was kind of thinking to myself, well, you know, that's an interesting thought. I wonder if there's anything like that that can help persons with brain injuries. And lo and behold, I found some very astounding research, which I'd like to share with you today. The brains of musicians have been studied for years, and one of the commonalities to them is that they have better looking gray matter than the rest of us and more plasticity. And so there was a study, so I kind of researched this area, and it's kind of found that the combination of reading music and playing a musical instrument, you know, it's kind of a complex activity that comprises motor and multisensory integration in a unique way, because you have to read the music, you have to process the music, and then get it to your hands. So in other words, you know, you're reading, thinking, and playing at the same time. And I did a little research and found this astounding article about this study that was recently performed. And what they did was they took, I can't remember how many people it was, maybe 60, and they divided them into two groups. And they all had brain injuries, and half the group took piano lessons for 4 months. The other half of the group did other activities such as physical exercise, computer lessons, painting, and things like that. And what they did is before they started the experiment, they did neuropsychological and diagnostic testing, and then they did it afterwards to compare the progress of both groups, and the results were very astounding. And it was unequivocal that the piano lessons proved to be much better than the other activities in these 8 following ways. The first was that it improved brain plasticity. And brain plasticity is the ability for the brain to change physically, functionally, and chemically more than the other activities. So it was much better in that way. The second way that the piano lessons definitely outperformed the other physical activities is that it improved executive functioning in the brain damaged patients, which is the process that has to do with managing yourself and your resources in order to achieve goals. The third part where the piano lessons were superior is that it improved inhibitory control more. And that is, you know, because people with brain injuries tend to be more impulsive and less inhibited than people without. So that's always an issue with a brain injured person, is their impulsivity and disinhibition, if you will. The fourth factor was that the piano lessons increased attention more than the other activities. So as you can see, there's a trend here that, you know, basically all the things that a brain-injured person suffers from, these piano lessons seem to be helping. The fifth one was that there was an increase in visual scanning, which is the ability to use your vision to search in a systematic manner, such as top to bottom or left to right. And this is very important because it helps a person manage their environment and navigate it much better. So, you know, that's a big safety issue. Number 6 is that the piano lessons increased motor ability, like your manual dexterity, reaction time, and things like that. And then they had some psychological effects which were really not anticipated. The piano lessons markedly decreased depression and also induced more positive mood states. So it was a resounding, win-win as far as that's concerned. I am now looking into seeing whether some of these neurorestorative clinics that are out of state use the piano lessons and trying to coordinate, that activity in their daily goals. So the takeaway here is that while there is no cure for a brain injury, piano lessons for at least 4 months can be a very, very effective tool in improving many of the problems associated with a traumatic brain injury. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that it helps your loved ones, and we'll talk again soon.